Plasmonic Leech for under 4 million energy credits. If that's not a sign of the apocalypse, then I don't know what is. Hey guys, Parallel here, and welcome to Star Trek Online. The Infinity Lockbox is back. It has returned to the PC for round 2, and in this iteration, the rewards have been changed up a bit. So why don't we take a look at what has changed and what the new rewards are this time around for the Infinity Lockbox. Now, for you console players, you may not be familiar with the Infinity Lockbox. I don't believe this has come to consoles yet, but you can look forward to getting this in the future. I would guess around the time when the Agents of Yesterday expansion is released for consoles, you should be able to get this lockbox. But if you're watching this video for now, you can just take this as a teaser for what will be coming later for you guys. And if you're at all not familiar with the history of lockboxes in Star Trek Online and why the Infinity Lockbox was created, it is actually pretty interesting. So basically, for a long time now, Star Trek Online's been out for over 6 years now. It's had a lot of content patches and a lot of expansions, and each time a content patch or expansion comes out, typically Cryptic will add a new lockbox to the game. And for a long time that was the case. Each time there was an expansion, they would add a new lockbox that kind of followed the theme of that expansion, or that content patch. So there's been, I think the first lockbox was the Cardassian lockbox, and there have been many, many since. I believe there's up to, 16, 17 lockboxes now? It was getting to the point where there were so many lockboxes that the individual rewards were becoming incredibly scarce. And so basically it was suffering from, loot dilution. So basically there were so many different boxes to open and so many rewards that the individual rewards were becoming, incredibly rare, incredibly scarce, and incredibly expensive on the exchange. And it was getting to the point where it was just getting overwhelming. Like I said, 18 different lockboxes. It was very difficult to know, what lockbox to open to get what rewards. And so it was leading to a terrible market condition. So fortunately, Cryptic realized this, and through what I think is a very good solution, they came up with a good way to resolve the issue with the loot dilution, and that is they created the Infinity Lockbox. Essentially, when an Infinity Lockbox comes out, it takes the reward tables from all the previous lockboxes and puts them into a single box. And the way it works is when you open an Infinity Lockbox, you get a reward package inside, and that reward package, then when you open the reward package, you can select from that tier of loot that you obtained. Now, the tier of loot that you obtain is still, of course, random. I mean, this is a lockbox. It still suffers from the same, if you want to get the top tier of loot, like the tier 6 ships, it's still very rare to get that reward package out of the lockbox. But if you do get that package and you do open it, then you can select, you do get the choice of choosing any of the anything from that tier, reward tier, from any of the previous lockboxes. It actually works pretty well, and when the Infinity Lockbox, the initial version, came out several months ago, it had a huge impact on the market. And in fact, I think I called that original video the market apocalypse. And we'll see how that's continuing here. I do want to take a look at the market and see how this next round is impacting the prices of some of the key items on the market. So we'll take a look at that here shortly. But first, let's go ahead and take a look at this new lockbox. Right, let me go ahead and pull up the actual website here. Hopefully you are seeing that. So there it is. And for you Deep Space Nine lovers out there, I think you are really going to like this lockbox. It has a lot of, it seems to be going back and refreshing a lot of the, Deep Space Nine themed ships. So you got the Cardassian and the Dominion ships have been updated this time around. Pretty cool. So let's just go ahead and read it here. This special lockbox contains prizes from nearly all previous retired lockboxes. It will be available again for just 1 week. All right, so that's a pretty short period of time. But that follows. I mean, usually they have these Infinity Lockbox events, leading, the week leading up to a new content patch. And yeah, So since there is a content patch coming out next week, October 25th, that is when this Infinity Lockbox will be ending. All right, so during this time, enemies defeated both on the ground and in space will have a small chance of dropping these prize-filled packages. And the Keldon lockbox will be retired. I believe the way it works is that the previous lockbox, so in this case the Not Cool lockbox, will then become part of the Infinity Lockbox, and then there will be a time where the Keldon lockbox will not be available. I would assume when the next round of Infinity Lockbox comes out, so round 3, then the Keldon lockbox will be added to, the rewards will be added to the Infinity Lockbox. So that means you'll be able to get the things from the Not Cool lockbox, like the Teldari Raider, pretty decent ship. The Plasma Wave console, they list a few other things here, the traits, ground traits, all those things that you could get from the previous lockbox, or the Not Cool lockbox, will be now in the Infinity Lockbox. So it also says, in addition, they've added several items here, and this is the exciting part. And let's take a look at these, because there are some pretty good offerings here, and these ships have not been refreshed in a very long time. So it says, we're very excited to announce the inclusion of new Tier 6 versions of a few of our previous Tier 5 lockbox starships. Each of these new vessels will be replacing their Tier 5 counterpart in the contents of the Infinity Lockbox. So, yeah, keep reading for the stats. Yeah, let's go through the stats, take a look here. I'll just give you some quick impressions. I don't want to read through everything, because I'm more interested in actually, taking a look at, how this lockbox is going to be impacting the market. So we'll get to that in just a moment, but let's go ahead and continue through, take a look at the ships and what has been updated here. So, first ship is a very nice looking Cardassian Keldon cruiser, Tier 6. And this is, of course, the refresh of the Tier 5 version, which is the Galor class. A very loved ship, I believe, in the Stoke community. A lot of people love the Galor. But let's face it, the Galor is a very old ship. As I mentioned, I believe the Cardassian lockbox is one of the very first lockboxes to come out. So the Galor was definitely in need of a nice refresh and upgrade to Tier 6. So let's see how it did with that upgrade here. Take a look at the ship details. So it does say it is armed with a potent variant of its classic weapon, the Spiral Wave Disruptor Lance. Sounds pretty good. I do like Lance weapons, especially now that the Lance weapons have usually have a passive buff that goes along with them, rather than just the active ability, which makes them, a little bit better as far as being able to slot them and not losing any effectiveness as far as when the Lance is on its downtime, because usually they have a minute and a half, 2 minute downtime or cooldown for the Lance. All right, so this starship features a Lieutenant Engineering Intel. It's got some Intel seating. Nice. Definitely a good upgrade then for the Galor. And it also has a Lieutenant Commander Universal Intel. Okay. So it's got 2 Intel seats. That's already a nice, pretty significant upgrade over the Galor. So this Keldon's looking pretty good already right off the bat. Let's take a look at the stats here. Tier 6. Hull strength is 50,000 at level 60. A little bit on the low side for cruisers. I think some of the more heavy cruisers have 60,000 hull. I mean, it's not a bad hull by any means, but it's a little bit lower than your more tanky cruisers. But that's a very nice shield modifier. 1.3 shield modifier is very good for a cruiser for sure. So maybe that kind of makes up for the lower hull. It is a 4-4 weapon configuration, 4 device slots. And let's take a look at the BOF seating here. We've got a Lieutenant Commander Tactical, Lieutenant Engineering Intel, Commander Engineering, of course, it's a cruiser. Ensign Science, that's it for science. Whew. Alright, so I'm not liking that part of the bridge seating, that's for sure. And then it's got that Lieutenant Commander Universal Intel that it mentioned. I do like that the Lieutenant Engineering is also Intel, because you can put the Intel, you can put your OSS there, I think. and still have plenty of engineering slots in the commander engineering to do what you need as far as emergency power abilities. So I do like that, but that ensign science, that's kind of a limitation, because then either if you want any science capabilities at all, you're going to have to use the Lieutenant Commander Universal as a science. But it is also intel, so you could use, like, since it's Lieutenant Commander, you could use that Lieutenant Commander slot to put OSS 3 in there. So the bridge officer seating is I'd say a solid upgrade. The intel seating is nice, just that lack of science capabilities. And if you don't use that universal seat for a tactical, then you're only going to have 3 tactical slots, so that would be a pretty big trade-off. I'd probably recommend to just try to make do with only the 1 science slot and use that Lieutenant Commander Universal as a tactical. So you would have, plenty of space for your Kemocite-laced weaponry, for your attack patterns, your fire at wills, which would be excellent on this ship. So that's probably how I'd go with that. Consoles, you got 3 tactical, 5 engineering, 3 science. I'm not a huge fan of 5 engineerings, but that's pretty standard for cruisers. At least it's 3-3 instead of only 2 science. A lot of cruisers are like 2 science and 4 tactical. So I do like that it's 3-3. At least you get the 3 science consoles, which is good. 10 degrees per second, not too bad for a cruiser. It's on the pretty maneuverable for a cruiser. Impulse modifiers and inertias are pretty good for a cruiser. Plus 10 to weapon, plus 10 to shield power. Yeah, that's fine. Console, universal, spiral wave disruptor lance. Let's go ahead and it looks like it has Starship as the cruiser ability package, and it does come with the cruiser commands, so that's very good. So you do get your weapon system efficiency on there. So yeah, pretty solid cruiser, I think. Let's go ahead and go down here and see what it says about the consoles. Now it has the Spiral Wave Disruptor Lance. I don't see the stats on here, but it does have... The console provides a passive bonus to disruptor-directed damage, so that's nice. So you get a disruptor... probably, I'm assuming it's a Category 1 buff to disruptor damage. And it can fit on any console slot and may only be equipped on Cardassian starships. Okay. But it says that activating the ability will deal a heavy disruptor damage in a narrow cylinder. Affected enemies will also have their damage resistance significantly reduced and have a random subsystem knocked offline. Very nice sounding lance. The fact that it's a cone instead of a target also is nice. That makes it a lot more like the Mata Raptor, which is one of my favorite lances in the whole game. So yeah, looking like a pretty solid upgrade. So yeah, you Cardassian lovers out there, you can rejoice. This looks like a very solid upgrade to the Galler. And of course, the best thing about these ships, as you probably know, is that they unlock the Spiral Wave Disruptors. Let's scroll down a little bit here. You get your... You get a trait, and then you also get access to Spiral Wave Disruptors, which are kind of making a comeback now with the whole disruptor meta going on now. You've got your Coalition Disruptors, you've got your Terran Disruptor. So disruptors are very powerful right now, and the Spiral Waves are pretty decent. They're still held back a little bit by the accuracy mods that are on there, but they do have a very nice proc that reduces, all damage, reduces the damage resistance of the target to all damage types. For 15 seconds, I believe is what it is. So pretty good, which actually makes these pretty good if you're going for like a rainbow build, which, believe it or not, rainbow builds are becoming somewhat viable now with like the advanced anti-proton beam and the Terran disruptors. There are some opportunities out there for a rainbow type build, and spiral waves are very good for that because unlike the coalition disruptors, which only reduce resistances to disruptor damage, the spiral wave, I believe, reduces it to all damage. So that's very nice. Now let's see this trait here. Okay, so this is called Insidious Tactics. When this trait is slotted, activating Aceton Beam, Surgical Strikes, or Torpedo Transport Warhead. Ha! I laugh at that ability. Will grant a boost to critical hit chance and crit severity. This buff stacks 3 times. Sounds nice as far as the boost. A boost to crit severity is always very welcome, and crit chance is as well. But I'm kind of thinking to bet on this trade just because of the Aceton Beam, Surgical Strikes, and Torpedo Transport Warhead are all pretty niche abilities that are not all that great. So you're not going to be using them very often, and unless the duration is really long, it'll probably be hard to get that stack up 3 times. So not super great on the trait, but I do like the lance. Sounds very good. And overall, the intel seeding and upgrades over the Galler are very good. So let's when we get to the market and take a look at what kind of impact all these changes are having on the market. I will definitely take a look and see what these are going for. I'm sure there might be a couple of them up there on the market, so we'll take a look. All right, next one up, Jem'Hadar, Dreadnought Carrier. This is a classic, very powerful ship for a very long time. Even at its Tier 5 status, it was still a pretty solid ship. And now it has been upgraded to Tier 6, so let's see what it gets. I do like the visual redesign. Kind of follows the theme. Most of your Tier 6 ships are, they basically look like the Tier 5 with just kind of a sleeker look, sleeker design to them. So it looks pretty good. I'm pretty sure you can also use the Tier 5 visuals. So if you do like the traditional Jem'Hadar look, which is pretty good, I do actually like the Jem'Hadar ships, you can use those visuals. All right, so what does this Dreadnought Carrier get for Tier 6? The Starship features Lieutenant Tactical Command and a Lieutenant Commander Engineering Command. Okay, so it looks like it is a command-based ship. I'm not a huge fan of command, but I know torpedo users do like their command seating. Makes me wonder if this could have some viable torpedo builds. Since this is a Dreadnought carrier, you can see it does have the 4-3 weapons layout, unlike most carriers, which are just the 3-3. That is very nice. So with those 4 weapon slots, you could probably fit some torps in there. Could be a decent torp ship, especially with that. Yeah, well, let's see. You got Lieutenant Tactical Command. You've got your Lieutenant or Commander Tactical. Wait, Commander Tactical. Oh, so this is... I didn't realize that. It's a Commander Tactical. Okay. And Lieutenant Commander Engineering Command. So, yeah, so it's Lieutenant Commander. That's good. So you can get Lieutenant Commander command abilities in there. Ensign Science, I'm seeing a theme here. And then a Lieutenant Commander Universal. So it looks like it's suffering from the same issue as the Keldon class, which is that 1 Ensign Science. So definitely not a very science-focused ship. Although in this case, since this ship has a Commander Tactical and a Lieutenant Tactical Command, you could get away with making that Lieutenant Commander into a science seat if you wanted, because you also have Lieutenant Commander Engineering for those abilities. So in this case, you don't sacrifice quite as much if you wanted to go with a science in that universal seat, which I do like, because it is the Commander Tactical. I do like the Commander Tactical seating. Consoles, we've got 4 Tactical, 5 Engineering, 2 Science. Not a huge fan of the 2 Science, but not a huge fan of the 5 Engineering either. So not the best console layout in the world, in my estimation. I did gloss over the hull strength, though. Let's take a look at that real quick, because it does have a 60,000 hull strength. So that is pretty much up there near the top of the line as far as hull strength at level 60. And it has a 1.15 shield modifier, so less than the Keldon class, but still pretty decent shield modifier for a carrier/cruiser, which usually are not, that strong on the shield side. Impulse modifier 0.17, not the worst for a carrier. Inertia 30, that's not great. but it is a carrier, so it will be, where's the turn rate? Did I miss it? 6 degrees per second. Pretty slow. Yeah, I mean, it's still a carrier, which is going to make a problem if you, I think as a torpedo ship, it's going to be hard to keep enemies in your front arc to launch those torpedoes. But there can be some things you can slot on your ship to try to increase that turn rate. 6 degrees per second is not the worst I've ever seen on a carrier, but it is pretty slow. What else we got going on here? It does have 2 hangar bays. Comes with a console universal enhanced Dominion command interface, and hangar bays loaded with Jem'Hadar fighters. I wonder if you want to slot the attack ships, I bet you still have to own the Jem'Hadar attack ship, I bet, in order to be able to slot those. We'll read down here and see if that's the case. But Starship Mastery Package, Tactical Carrier, and let's take a look at the consoles here. We got the, let's see, Enhanced Dominion Command Interface. I believe this is the same console that came on the original Jem'Hadar Dreadnought carrier, just an enhanced version of it. So yeah, let's take a look at what this can do. Temporarily decreases the target's defense and damage resistance, which is nice. The damage resistance debuff is nice. As well as highlighting specific vulnerable system. If your target suffers enough damage while their system is vulnerable, that system is knocked offline. I don't recall what the threshold is for that, but I think it's pretty easy to knock the system offline. It also provides a passive bonus to accuracy and turn rate. Oh, okay, so cool. Turn rate, definitely welcome on a slow turning ship like a Dreadnought carrier. It can be equipped into any slot, but it can only be equipped on Jem'Hadar ships. Okay, yep, that makes sense. And the trait, Dominion Coordination. While this trait is slotted, activating beam overload, surgical strikes, or cannon rapid fire will increase the damage to all nearby hangar pets. Buff does not stack. Still going with meh on the trait. So far, I'm not too impressed with the traits. Surgical strikes, cannon rapid fire. I mean, you could run cannons on this, I suppose, but still a very slow turning ship. Beam overload, again, not very good compared to fire at will. Surgical strikes, again, not that great compared to overload system safeties. And the only thing it gives is a buff to hangar pet damage. Again, even for Dreadnought, even for carriers, hangar pet damage is not the best in the world. So buffing it doesn't give you a huge benefit. So far I'm liking the ships, but the traits seem a little bit meh. And finally we come to the third ship. The Jem'Hadar Heavy Escort Carrier. Now, this one I actually always liked, the Heavy Escort Carrier. I don't own one, but I always liked the idea of this. This is more like it flies more like an escort, but it has a hangar bay. And so it's generally a lot more fun to fly than your typical super heavy, slow carriers. So let's take a look at this one here. Actually, I did scroll by. The visual design in this one actually looks quite a bit different than the previous Tier 5 version of the Heavy Escort Carrier. Not sure if I'm liking it quite as much. I guess just the primary hull seems very thick and weighty, whereas I like the previous version a little bit better. It looked a little bit more sleek, I think. It's not bad looking, but in this particular one, I'd probably go with the original. I'm actually kind of curious. I wonder if you can kit bash these together with the Tier 5. If you can mix and match the Tier 5 visuals with the Tier 6 visuals, that'd be pretty cool. I do actually, I do kind of miss the nacelle. The traditional Jem'Hadar nacelles are really cool looking. So I don't like these new nacelles as much as the originals. All right, let's take a look at the stats on this Heavy Escort Carrier. What does this have? Features a Lieutenant Engineering Intel, nice Intel seat, and a Lieutenant Commander Universal Pilot. Oh, Intel and Pilot. kind of interesting. But I really do like that it has intel. That means you can definitely go with some, override some safeties on there and do some solid damage. It does come with a single hangar bay. And the fighters have polar on weapons, of course. That is typical for a Jem'Hadar. And let's quickly go through the stats on this one. What do we got here? 51,000 hull at level 60. We've got a shield modifier of 1.05. Again, this is more like an escort, so that's actually not terrible for an escort. Some escorts have 1 or even lower than 1 shield modifier. I would say most escorts do. You're looking at a 4-3 weapon layout, so it's more like it's more like an escort. What else we got here? Bridge officer stations. You've got your commander tactical. You've got your lieutenant engineering intel, which is very nice. You've got a lieutenant science. You're not stuck with the ensign science. You've got your 1 lieutenant universal and a lieutenant commander universal. 2 universal seats. Very flexible. And the lieutenant commander is universal with the pilot. So you have a lot of options here. I really like the bridge officer layout. You got your lieutenant science, so you at least have your basic, you can run like science team and hazard emitters on there to at least be covered on that front. And 2 universal seats, and you've already got the commander tactical and a lieutenant engineering. You probably want to use one of those universals as an engineer and the other one as a tactical. But you could even, you could mix and match a lot with those 2 seats. You could switch things around a bit. You could make your lieutenant commander into a science seat, and you could throw a Bravwell on there if you wanted to. So very flexible bridge officer seating. I like it a lot. Turn rate 15 degrees per second. Very nice. Nice fast turn rate for an escort. Consoles, forgot to look at that. 5 tactical, 4 engineering, 2 science. I'm not liking the 2 science. That's always been too limiting in my opinion. I always like 3 or more science consoles, but it does have the 5 tactical. That's typical for an escort. But yeah, I would have liked a 5-3-3, I think. So I really like. I think out of the bridge officer stations, I like this one the best by far. Very flexible with 2 universal slots, and you're not stuck with a crappy ensign. Impulse modifier 0.2, inertia 60, so it's going to be a maneuverable ship. It is. It's not the fastest escort in the world, but should be maneuverable enough to get the job done. It comes with a console universal. This is the Enhanced Dominion Coordination Protocol. Again, I think it's enhanced. I think the original one was just the Dominion Coordination Protocol on the Tier 5 version of the ship. So this is like an enhanced version of that. Let's keep going. You do get your 1 hangar bay. And I believe this can also run attack ships, frigates. You will, but of course, again, you will probably need to. I'm going to keep reading here, but I'm almost sure it does require that you own a Jem'Hadar attack ship in order to unlock those frigates. All right, so what does this Enhanced Dominion Coordination Protocol do? It gives you a new ability, Fleet Maneuvering Gamma ability. Enhances your team's damage, turn rate, and movement speed, as well as making them immune to placate, confuse, and maneuverability debuffs. I wonder if that includes tractor beams. That's pretty cool. This console provides a passive bonus to directed energy damage and crit severity. Okay, good passive bonus. I like crit severity for sure. The console may be equipped in any slot and only on Jem'Hadar ships, so seems like a pretty solid console. And then the trait, let's see, does this one have a good trait or not? Will it be disappointing like the other 2? When the trait is slotted, activating Tactical Team will provide a boost to hull penetration for a short time. Has potential, buff does not stack. Hull pen is good. Tactical Team, very good. Used a lot. Almost, you try to get as much uptime on Tactical Team as you can in almost any build. So I like that it's triggered by a very good ability that you're going to use a lot, and hull penetration is good. I guess just as long as it just depends on how much hull penetration it gives, what the actual values are. If it gives a decent amount, that's a pretty solid trait, honestly. So I would say, just ranking these 3 new ships, I mean, they're all pretty solid. I'm definitely liking the Heavy Escort Carrier. I think that's probably the best ship in my opinion. Although the Keldon class is a very good upgrade over the Gallower as well. The Dreadnought Carrier, I mean, you know, it's a carrier. I think it will probably be pretty similar to the experience of the original. While the upgrades are pretty solid, nothing blew me away as far as the seating, or you know, it only has command seating, and it stuck with that ensign science. So I mean, it's still a good upgrade, but I would definitely say that I think that the Heavy Escort Carrier and the Keldon class are the stars of this show in this lockbox. Now, it does, these consoles do go into a set, which is good. Looks like Dominion set, the three-piece set includes the consoles from the Dreadnought Carrier, both Tier 5 and 6, the Heavy Escort Carrier, Tier 5 and 6, and the Recon Strike Ship, Tier 6. Okay, so it looks like you can use the Tier 5 ones to complete this set. And, yeah, you can see the list here. Let's see what the set bonuses are here. Two-piece is tactical maneuvering, adds plus accuracy plus defense boost onto fleet maneuvering gamma. Okay, I mean that's something, I guess. Not the best thing, but the Dominion precision two-piece passive plus accuracy and defense, okay, but not the best. Defense screen efficiency three-piece passive. Outgoing weapon attacks no longer reduce the duration of Dominion defense screen. I think that actually might be pretty decent. The Dominion defense screen, if I'm not mistaken, is actually really pretty good. I believe it's like 95% shield hardness or something like that. So that's pretty solid, and that removes sort of the downside of that ability. So that's a pretty good ability, plus all damage for the three-piece. So I would say I'm not super impressed with the two-piece, but the three-piece looks pretty decent, pretty solid. So, and here is the pets. I'm not going to go through all the stats here. You know, you have your fighter pet and you got your frigate pet. All I'm interested is I want to just double check to make sure that yes, okay, so you can slot the Jem'Hadar attack ship, as long as you own one of the following. So yes, you have to have the attack ship, the recon ship, or the strike ship. And you have to also own the Dreadnought Carrier, Tier 6 or Tier 5, or the Heavy Escort Carrier, Tier 6 or Tier 5. Yep, so that's what I thought. Again, very expensive. If you want to have the full Dominion experience, you've got to have the carrier, the Dreadnought Carrier or the Escort Carrier, and you got to have the bug ship. And as you all know, the bug ship is one of the most expensive ships in the game. To this day, it still is one of the most expensive ones. So very hard to get your hands on those frigates. All right, so that is it for the ships. I would say pretty solid upgrades all around. Very much looking forward to not that I'm looking forward to it. I don't plan on being able to get these because I'm assuming they're going to be very expensive ships. But very solid upgrades. That Heavy Escort Carrier I'd be very interested in, or also that Keldon class I would be very interested in. I've always wanted to get my hands on those Spiral Wave Disruptors because those are very nice weapons nowadays. All right, so those are the new ships, and let's go ahead and just see what the impacts are in the market here. I'm very interested to check this out. Now, why don't we, just real quick before I jump into the market, let's just actually see here. If you're interested in getting these lockboxes, you can pick them right up from the dilithium store. You see here, Infinity Lockbox. It's only 170 dilithium for 20. Very cheap. So there's definitely no constraint there. You could stock up on dozens and dozens of these if you'd like while they're being sold for the next week, and you should not run out for a long time to come. Let's go ahead and get info here. You can see all of the drops that you can get. And it's actually very nice here when you can actually, it breaks it down all of the reward tiers that you can get. So as I mentioned, when you open the Infinity box, you actually get a a box within a box, essentially. You get a reward pack inside of that box, and then you can select from the items within that tier that you won. Of course, the Tier 6 Starship is one of the more rare ones. It's still very, very rare to be able to get this, but you do get at least to choose from any of the ships listed here. You can also list from, choose from the Tier 5 if that's what you win. You can look through all of the... so here's all the secondary starships, that has things like the Mirror Universe, the old Tier 5, like the Malon, you've got your Kazon, you've got your Nihydron Destroyer, and the Tholian Meshweaver, which is actually a pretty solid ship, honestly. The Tholian Meshweaver is a very nice kind of entry-level Tier 5 ship. You've got all your consoles, you've got... so everything's all listed here that is in the contents of the box. So basically everything it used to have, plus the Not Cool box as well. And then plus the 3 new ships. So... looking very good so far. I believe this will be a very popular lockbox, but as you can see, I am here on my the Ferengi bridge here of my Frankie Nandy warship. Let's take a look at the exchange and see what is going on here. You already saw, I can't believe this, I really can't believe this, that the Plasmonic Leech is going for under 4 million energy credits. That's less than the cost of a single key to open the box. So they're basically selling these things at a loss. That's incredible. If you new players out there, pick this up right away. For 4 million, you cannot go wrong. This is one of the best consoles in the game. To this day, the Plasmonic Leech is still excellent, still well worth a slot on your build. And for only 4 million, you can't go wrong. Even as a new player, you should be able to afford 4 million energy credits by saving up just a little bit. It should not be a problem. And this is one of the best in slot consoles. Very, very nice. But let's take a look at what else. Some other indicators here. Let's take a look at now about Inspirational Leader. 7 million. That's even come down, I believe, with the first Infinity Lockbox. They were pretty cheap. I mean, they were under 20 million. I think I saw them going for around 12 to 15 million at that time, but you can see they're already down to 7 million. That is absolutely crazy. Again, one of the best traits in the game. I wonder how much Wing Commander's going for. The Wing Commander is only under 6 million now. This is insane. These things used to go for 100 million plus. What else can we take a look at? How about Kemocite-laced? Is that hyphenated? Let's just do Kemocite. The rank 3s were always... let's see what the rank 1 is always the most expensive. Here we go, some rank 1s. Rank 1s. 4.7 million, holy cow. This is insane. This is insane how... this is excellent, though. I gotta tell you, as a new player, you are now able to get some of the best items and abilities and traits in the game for reasonable prices now. That is what this Infinity Lockbox has done, and I think it is excellent. It has really lowered the bar to entry for new players, and this is fantastic. I have no complaints. Even though I paid triple, what these were. I think I paid 30 million for my Plasmonic Leeches, and at the time that was an incredibly good deal. For a long time, those Plasmonic Leeches were going for 90 million plus. And even as someone who had to deal with those prices and saved up for those, I'm still glad to see them crash down to this level, because this is great. It's good for alts, it's good for new players, and it really helps a lot. So I think, even though I call it market apocalypse because it has such a huge impact on the market, but I think overall it has been a very positive influence on the market. So what else? Let's take a look at the Tier 6 ships. Let's go to reward packs. Wow, Vomps are only going 135 million for a Vomp. Wow. those were like the hyper rare ones too, but now they're cheap. But you can get a Manasa for only 134 million. Very nice ship. Let's see what else you can get. Krenim Imperium's 135. So it looks like a lot of the tier 6 ships now are around that 135 million range. That's very, very good. Krenim Imperium warship is still one of the best ships in the game, period. I mean, it is one of the best ships ever. And for 135 million, that's actually pretty affordable. I know it seems expensive if you were going to save up for it, but that's 135 million is way cheaper than what it used to be. But I don't see. Let's keep going here. The Olean, Vomf, Tarantulas for only 140 million. What else we got going on here? Archeros for 150 million. Not seen any of the new ones. Once we get up into the 200, I haven't seen any of the actual Lobi ships. The Lobi ships are probably in the 200 plus million range. Am I crazy? Oh, there's a Paradox, 250 million. Yeah, they're still pretty pricey. The Lobi ships are still really expensive. I'm kind of disappointed in that. In fact, I think the Lobi ships are the ones that have held their value better than anything else at this point, because they've been. I mean, these were usually around. You know, they were always in the high 100 millions to low 200 millions, but now they're up to 250 million, so they're definitely not coming down. Man, I haven't even seen a Zal. How much are Zals going for? There was one. 280 million. Wow, that's a lot for a Zal. Of course, the only reason why anyone ever wants that ship is for the invincibility trait, which is crazy good for tactical captains. But so your Dreadnought Intel cruisers, your Calvin ships are now in the 280 million-ish range. Yep, 280 million. Wow, we're up into the 400s. There we go. I see a Keldon. Cheapest Keldon, 440 million. I would expect that to come down, in all honesty. It may not come down to the level of the other tier 6 lockbox ships, but I would expect this to come down pretty significantly over the next few days. So I would say hold off a little bit until a few more work their way into the market. Supply goes up a little bit. I expect this will come down. There's already 4 or 5 of them up for sale. Are there any Jem'Hadar Dreadnought carrier tier 6, 500 million? Again, those might come down a little bit. I haven't seen any heavy escort carriers. I'm guessing those are... Wow, Talaru Warbirds are 700 million, holy cow. Those are pretty crazy. I've seen some Dreadnought carriers, but I have not seen any of the heavy escort. Oh, here's one. 350 million, not too bad. That's a much more reasonable price. I still would expect it to come down a little bit, maybe in the 200s, I would say. So there it is. There is the impact on the market of the new Infinity Lockbox and what the ships are going for. I think it's excellent. I really like these lockboxes. I'm very pleased with how this has made a lot of the key items that you need for builds more affordable to new players. It has lowered the barrier of entry, for endgame builds, and I think it's excellent all around. Yes, the ships themselves are still pretty expensive, but even then, some of the better ships, like the ships that have been around for a while, like the Krenim Imperium warship, is still a phenomenal ship, and at 130 million, that is actually quite affordable, believe it or not. It still would take quite a bit of grinding to save up for newer players, but it's still well worth it. I mean, that is like top of the line end game ship there. So for 130 million is still, I think, a decent price. So overall, the Infinity Lockbox, I think, has worked very well. And this next round has, I think, even just made it even better. So definite thumbs up for me on the Infinity Lockbox round 2. Now let me just close out with just giving you my buying tips here, as far as if you're one of those players who really wants to, if you really want to get your hands on one of these new ships, you really want just one particular item out of this lockbox, here is my tip. Do not open these lockboxes. Do not buy keys and open these lockboxes. That is not the way to, not the optimal way to get one particular item that you're looking for. If you're looking for one particular item, I highly recommend you just, if you're looking to spend real money, just buy keys and sell them on the market, and you will actually overall spend much less than you would if you were buying keys and trying to get trying to get the one item you want and randomly opening the box. It's still a very low chance of getting those ships, and don't play chance. It's very likely you could open 30-40 boxes and not get the ship and just end up being disappointed. Whereas if you were to sell 30-40 keys on the market, you would very easily be able to afford many good ships. So that's my advice. Really, for the people who open these lockboxes, it is more for the EC rich, the Grand Neguses of the game who have so much EC they don't know what to do with. Then it makes sense to actually buy keys with EC and open the lockboxes and sell the the rewards you get en masse. That's really the only way to actually make money or do well, by opening the lockboxes. If you're looking, like I said, if you're just looking for one particular item, you're not super EC rich, don't open the lockboxes. Just get keys and buy the item that you want. You will save much, much more in the long run. If you want the Lobby, then yeah, you gotta open the boxes, right? So I would say, if you're looking to get like a Lobby item, open the boxes, you get your Lobby that you get from the box, which you need anyway, and just if you happen to get an item out of the box that you want, that it's just a nice benefit, a nice side benefit, but you're really just opening the boxes for the Lobby. And don't set yourself up for disappointment. Just expect to get the Lobby, and if you just happen to get something along the way, it's a nice side benefit. Alright guys, I'm curious. Let me know what you guys think of the new Infinity Lockbox in the comments. I'm curious to see what everyone thinks about this. I still think it's a great addition to the game, and I'm looking forward to it. You console players should also be looking forward to these. I'm sure we'll have, I'd be interested to see how it affects the console markets, which are much newer than the PC market. So I'd be very curious to see how much these things go for on console and when these lockboxes come out. But I think it will, again, lead to everything being a lot more affordable. I mean, I'm sure they'll be more pricey at first, but just like on PC, I'm sure when the prices stabilize, after several content patches and several rounds of Infinity Lockboxes, I think consoles' prices will probably come down pretty close to where the PC has leveled off at right now. So there it is, everyone. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you did enjoy. And like I said, leave the comments down below on what you think of this lockbox. I'm very curious to see what the community reaction will be. All right, that's all for now. Thanks for watching.